My name is Delilah, I'm 24, and right now, everyone seems to think I'm the villain in some tragic love story. But the truth, I just went on a vacation with my closest friends and, now my boyfriend, Jack, has dumped me. Apparently, maintaining friendships with men is a deal breaker these days. Before we dive into this story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get into it. Jack and I had been together for 2 years. He's 26, works a stable office job, pays his bills, and does all the responsible adult things. But from the beginning, he had this one glaring flaw. He was incredibly insecure about my male friendships. I've been close with Matthew, Mesa, Devontae, and Jordan since college. They're like my brothers. Sure, Matthew and I had a one-time hookup during freshman year, but it was years ago, meant nothing, and we both moved past it. Jack, however, never truly let it go. Every time I even mentioned hanging out with one of them, whether it was grabbing drinks or going to Mason's birthday party, Jack would get this look, like I'd just admitted to cheating. It was exhausting. So when Matthew invited me to join their annual lake house weekend trip, I was excited. I hadn't spent time with the guys in months, but telling Jack about it went exactly how I expected. He immediately questioned everything. Will there be other girls? Where are you sleeping? Like I was some teenager asking for permission. I tried to reassure him. These are my friends. I've known them longer than I've known you, but nothing I said made a difference. He kept repeating that he was uncomfortable with it. But uncomfortable with what? That I had friends with penises. It felt like he didn't trust me at all, and it was incredibly insulting. I even reminded him that I'd been totally honest with him about the trip. I wasn't hiding anything, but instead of appreciating that, he just tried to guilt me into canceling. He didn't come right out and forbid me, but his tone made it clear he didn't want me to go. And honestly, it made me rethink the whole relationship. I told him, flat out, that if he couldn't handle me having male friends, maybe we weren't compatible. These guys had been there for me through some of the hardest parts of my life: my parents, divorce, failing a brutal chemistry class, roommate drama. They were my people, and no way was I going to drop them just to protect my boyfriend's fragile ego. The morning I left for the trip, Jack barely said goodbye. He mumbled, "Have a good time," without even looking at me. I felt a mix of sadness and relief as Matthew picked me up in his truck. The moment I got in and saw his smile, it felt like a weight lifted. For once, I was around people who weren't analyzing every move I made. The drive to the lake house was like a time capsule. We laughed, caught up on life, and sang along to old college songs. It reminded me why I'd always felt so connected to these guys. They got me. I didn't have to shrink myself or second-guess my words. I could just be. When we got to the lake house, and I saw Mason, Devontae, and Jordan, it was like slipping into a familiar, safe rhythm. Inside jokes, shared memories, the kind of comfort you only get from years of real friendship. That night, we grilled, played cards, and crashed in the living room like we used to. It wasn't weird, it wasn't inappropriate, it was home. I knew Jack wouldn't have approved, but that only reinforced how misaligned we were. If spending time with my lifelong friends made me a bad girlfriend, then maybe I wasn't meant to be with someone like him. By the second day, I felt more like myself than I had in months. I wasn't walking on eggshells, worried about every message or joke being misinterpreted. I was just me, and I wasn't going to apologize for it. When Mason suggested we stay an extra night, I didn't even hesitate. I texted Jack to let him know, and when he didn't reply, I figured he was just sulking. I wasn't going to let his silence ruin what had been such a healing weekend. The last night, Matthew and I ended up sitting on the dock, just talking. I opened up about how suffocating things had gotten with Jack, how I felt like I was always justifying my friendships, my choices, even my personality. Matthew listened without judgment. He reminded me who I was, before I started shrinking myself to fit into Jack's comfort zone. When he hugged me goodnight, it was simple and sincere, just a friend offering support, but I knew if Jack ever found out, he'd twist it into something else. By Sunday night, when Matthew dropped me off, it felt like I was re-entering a world I no longer belonged to. The apartment was tense. Jack didn't greet me with warmth, just coldness. I knew before he even opened his mouth that the relationship was over. He sat me down and told me, with calm finality, that he'd been thinking all weekend and decided we weren't compatible. He used all the therapy speak: values, boundaries, emotional safety. He wasn't even angry. He was just done. I begged, I cried. I promised. Compromised. But none of it mattered. He told me he'd already found a new place and would be moving out that week. I realized then that he'd used my absence to plan his exit strategy. I was blindsided. The days that followed were a blur. He moved out quickly and quietly, polite, detached, like we'd never been in love at all. Even my best friend, Indy, didn't give me the comfort I expected. She asked questions that felt like accusations. Where did I sleep? Had I texted Jack? Was I really being honest? I realized Jack had probably been crafting a narrative behind my back, painting himself as the betrayed, noble boyfriend. Soon, mutual friends started siding with him. The guys even pulled back. Mason stopped inviting me out. Matthew stopped checking in. I felt completely alone, vilified for going on a trip with people who had supported me for years. And then I saw it on Instagram. Jack, with a new girlfriend from his climbing group. She looked like the kind of girl who'd never go away for a weekend without her boyfriend. Sweet, simple, non-threatening. He moved on so fast, like I'd never mattered. Meanwhile, I was still picking up the pieces, wondering how a two-way relationship could evaporate over a trip. But now, I see it clearly. Jack needed a reason to leave. My vacation was his excuse. He got to be the hero in his story, while I got cast as the reckless girlfriend who chose her guy friends over love. But here's what I know now: I'm not the villain. I'm not going to apologize for being a woman with strong friendships, with a full life, with independence. If that threatens someone, they're not the right person for me. Jack can have his neatly packaged relationship where nothing feels risky. I want more. I want someone who celebrates me, not just tolerates me, who sees my social life as an asset, not a liability. So, no, I don't regret going on that trip. I regret being with someone who made me feel small for so long. And losing him, that wasn't a tragedy. That was the beginning of me getting myself back.